Okay, when we draw, we want to start with light lines always to begin with, because we can always erase those and change them, but if we start with dark lines, you're kind of stuck with them. So try to get in the habit of drawing lightly, not too dark. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this cat. I think, yeah, I can do him vertically. I'm going to start with a light, fat oval. Okay, I'm bringing it around. I'm turning my paper. Notice I turn my paper. I don't turn my wrist. I turn my paper around. That's not a circle. It may look kind of like a circle, but trust me that it's longer from here to here than it is from here to here. It's nice, big. And I'm going to draw it slightly darker on my paper so you can see it, but I want you to have a lighter touch when you draw it on your paper. It's just kind of the trade-off. If I draw it dark enough for you to see, it's actually too dark, but I want you to be able to see it. And notice that it takes up quite a bit of my paper. Okay, it's a big chunk in there. That's almost the size of a softball, not quite. It's like a baseball and a half. So if you got a little tiny circle, about the size of a quarter, that's not big enough. So we want to get you used to drawing a little bit bigger. There's leaving some space on either side because I need some room. This is going to be a cat, and his tail's going to come over here. But this will be the main part of the body. Again, like I say, make sure you always turn the paper as you're drawing. Don't sit there and try to turn your hand around and break your wrist. Okay, that's the hard way to do it. Okay, we're going to put a couple other things that are basic, simple shapes. On the top here, I'm going to put a diagonal line that leans to the left. I'm going to put another one equally spaced leaning to the right. So now it looks like my oval shape has an antenna going off of it. Now each cartoon or each caricature that we do, each one will get just a little more complex than the one before. Okay, it's just baby steps. We're going to start pretty easy and then a little harder, a little harder, a little harder. Okay, and it's kind of how the whole year will go. Things get just a little more challenging as the year goes. But remember, this is a foundations class, not the drawing class or the advanced art class, so I'm not going to try to kill anybody off. Okay? All right. Instead of a straight line coming straight up like that, which would look really goofy and like an anorexic ear, we're going to come down a little ways and we're going to put a curved line that comes up and meets up with the top of our line. The only thing I want to do over here is make sure this one is about the same width. A curved line, I'm going to just curve it right up to the top. And I want to make sure these are our cat's ears. I want to make sure they're about the same size. You want them relatively close in size and not too skinny. Okay, so the ones on the right here, that's what too skinny looks like, okay, or too straight. This is what too big looks like. If you got a gigantic, huge ear coming out, it will look disproportionate to the rest of the drawing. Now I'm going to take a slight curved line to the side of the straight line that I put here. I'm just going to come over a little ways and I'm just going to slightly curve this in to the top and slightly curve this into the top just like that. I don't want that straight line anymore. So that's just there, that was there as a guideline. I can erase that out now. Now the inside of that ear is clear. I'll show you what to do with it next here in just a second. All right, then I'm going to come in right where that old line was, just to the right of it a little bit, and I'm going to curve a line and go to the point. So instead of a straight line, I've got a nice curved line, and that's the inner part of the ear. Just a nice little curve going either way, and that looks more cat-like and a nice curve than just a straight line like you drew it with a ruler or something. Okay, now it's circle time. We're going to put a big circle here and a big circle here, but we're going to leave a little space between the top of the head and the top of our circle. So I'm going to come in here and draw a relatively big circle right here. Again, I'm turning my paper. If these come out slightly oval and not an absolutely perfect circle, that's okay too. Just try to keep them about the same size. That's our goal. To the last micrometer, that's all right. We just want them to look like they are kind of the same size. If you got one twice as big as the other, yeah, you might have to erase and do a little redrawing. Okay. Mine aren't. One's, even on my drawing, one's not an exact duplicate of the other. It's just close. And I'm okay with that. Now, if anybody's having a super hard time, you went to draw the eye and you got one eye that looks like this and one eye that looks like this, well, ask for help, okay? Even if they don't look that extreme, if you're just really struggling, just let me know. There's no reason to suffer and struggle if you don't need to. We're going to, does anybody need more time on the eyes, ears, anything? Raise your hand if you do need more time, because I don't want to get ahead of anybody, okay? Just give me a thumbs up as soon as you got it done. You that raised your hands, just give me a thumbs up, and then I'll know to move on. We're going to add the world's easiest nose to draw ever. So I'm going to come kind of up between the eyes, and I'm going to make a little letter Y. It's a V right now, but then I'm going to turn it into a Y like that. So it's just a little Y shape, capital Y. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom going the other way, except I'm going to curve that one slightly. Like that. So on the bottom, it's a slight curve. On the top, it's straight as an arrow, where it Y's out. Now, for some of you, this cat will be like, ah, it's the easiest thing I've ever drawn. For others, it'll be like, well, that's kind of a challenge. Like I say, each one will get a little more complex as we go. But like I say, baby steps to start with. Across the top of the nose, we're going to connect that line and that line. Just put a nice curved line across the top. And so there is the world's easiest cat nose right there. Okay. It's basically a triangle shape on top with one curved line for the top line. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of details. I'm not going to do the eyeballs yet. I'm not going to worry about whiskers. I'm not going to worry about fur and all that stuff. We are just blocking in our character at this point. Okay, down here at the bottom, we're going to put the two front legs. So I'm going to start and I'm going to bring it up into the body. I'm going to put a slight diagonal leg that comes just below my circle, and I'm going to do another one over here relatively close to it going the opposite way. Those are not his entire legs. He does not have little anorexic legs. They will be thicker than that. Actually, I made a mistake. That's what happens when you take a week off. Don't let him extend past the body. Sorry about that. That's all right. We'll put a little shadow there and make it all go away, and we'll never know we did it. I'm going to make them a little bit longer up into the body. Now I'm going to come over here, bring another one right here. So these go the opposite. These would form a V if they came down and connected. They just need to be wider at the top, narrower at the bottom. Then I'm going to just come out slightly, going the other way, opposite way, whatever it was above. I'm just going to round it out. Those are goofy looking little paws and legs, but we'll come back to those later and finish them. For now, we just need them. They need to be a little bit thick. Don't make them too skinny, okay? Has everybody got legs and paws? Anybody not? Before we go. Okay, we're going to make them a little wider here at the bottom. So I'm going to come just below the ear, and I'm going to curve a line out that follows the same curve as this, just goes a little further out. And I'm going to keep this light because I'm going to change a lot about it. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just trying to widen out the bottom of this cat a little bit by bringing out just a little wider. Now, don't come way out here, just barely out a little bit. And then I'm going to bring a straight line that comes in just above the bottom of my feet in the front, just barely above it. Just a light line going across. I don't want that too dark. It's more of a reference than anything. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put a little angled line out. And that comes back and forms a triangle. Forms a triangle. And that will be his back feet. Okay? Just a little triangle. Now this is the kind of stuff that if you follow along and do the steps, as you practice and get better, this kind of stuff you can doodle in the margins when you're in a class when you're really bored, but it still turns out to be kind of a cute cat, and it's not too complex. We're just trying to get away from the old standard cat of try and get away from that a little bit, okay? It's similar, but not the same. And we're going to put a tail on him. I'm going to come over here, right here where the foot and side come together right there. And I'm going to curve this out near the edge of my page. Curve it up. If you got room, I'm going to curve it back over towards the cat's body, but then I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to put this in lightly. I'm going to add fur to that later. Right now, we just need to be relatively the same width going up and around the end. Don't draw that too dark because we are going to go in there and change the edges and add fur and hair and all that good stuff. That is one seriously fat little cat. That's kind of the whole idea on this. We're exaggerating features a little bit. So in this case, we're exaggerating the size of the body, size of the head, maybe the tail and ears a little bit, and then we're intentionally going a little bit small on the legs and feet to make him look like he's a really heavy cat. It's all intentional. It's not accidental. It's design. All right, we need to do some erasing. So right here on the leg, I'm going to erase anything that's inside that leg. I want that cleaned up. I don't want any lines going through it. Darken this line right here coming across. And then I'm going to erase this lower part of the circle right here, or the oval. I'll just erase that out for now. So the interior of that cat's pretty clean now. So we have a foundation. Now is when you start to do the details. Now it doesn't matter whether we're drawing a silly little cat like this or if we were drawing a photorealistic portrait of somebody. You always want to start with a light line foundation, get your main features in as far as shape and size, and then do your details last. Because if you start with details, if we start at the top of his head and we drew his ears perfectly and all the hair that goes on it and then his eyes and his eyeballs and the expression around it and all the little fur details around the eyes and the sides of the body, and we start like that, and then we get to the bottom of our drawing down here and we find out that our proportions are off, that we got the head too wide or too skinny or the body too skinny or too wide, and we've done all that detail work, well then we've just wasted a lot of time. That's why it's really important to start with a really clear, easy to follow outline foundation, okay? So just about anything that we draw, we will start with a foundation and then work towards it being more detailed. Does anybody need any more time? Raise your hand to get to this point of completion. If you do, I just need to know. Now another thing to know is I am recording this as I go, so if you get way behind, I'll post it later tonight. You can always jump on your canvas and get caught up. All right, let's put his eyeballs in him. I want him looking up, so I'm going to put some eyeballs way up here. A couple of circles, about the same size. And then I'm going to leave a little circle in it at the top, a little off-centered. And I'm going to color in that black, except for that little circle I left at the top, which is just a little shine in his eye. And when I color that black, I want it solid black, not sort of black, not blackish. I want it very dark black, with no white showing through. So it's really dark like that, okay? And I don't want that little shiny spot to be very big, so I'm going to even make it just a little bit smaller. For me, this next part is where it starts to be kind of fun because it kind of all comes together. So I'm going to come along here and this line around my edge, I'm just lightly erasing. I want to barely see it. I want to know it's there, but I barely want to know it's there because I'm going to change it into a furry edge, a fuzzy edge. So I don't want it really showing through my drawing. So I'm just lightening it up so it goes away. I'm going to do the same around my tail. I don't want to erase it so much I can't figure out where it was, but I want it lightened way up. And the way we're going to create the fur on this is kind of a controlled scribble to a little bit. We're going to do a couple drawings that are kind of like that. It's a form of drawing. So I'm going to come down. You got to remember gravity. Okay, gravity takes a toll on stuff. So the hair off this side is going to lean this way and down. On this side, it's going to lean this way and down. And to create that hair, I'm just going to come along here, and I'm making little check marks, and I'm just doing a few. I don't want to do too many, and I'm coming right down to that foot. I'm going to put some more in between it. They're just like little check marks, and just make sure that they're angling down and not going straight out. We don't want to look like you just got electrocuted. So they just need to angle down. They don't even need to be perfect. It's just to try to create an edge. On the top of his head, I'm going to take some and we're going to go the opposite ways. Go a little bit here and just taking some little lines, and I'm leaning them over. Little lines going that. And these are short ones. The hair on the top of the head is super short. That's why one leans one way and one leans the other. I don't know if is that focusing up there? Kind of, yeah, there you go. Now you can see them. Just an outline while we create the texture. Now when we do the tail, it defies gravity a little bit because there's a little bit stiffer hairs and he's got the tail curving up. So we're just going to kind of come along here, and I'm just going to put lines that go this way. But on this side of the tail, I'm going to keep it relatively smooth and not do too many and kind of just bring it around. Maybe one more right there. Because this is the inside of the curve, therefore the hairs aren't going to be poking out. I want that to curve just a little bit nicer, so I'll just... Hopefully that makes sense to you when I say inside, outside of the curve. Okay, here's where he starts to look more like a cat. I want him to be kind of a two-tone cat, so I'm going to come around here and I'm just putting a light line, comes around underneath his eye. Now I'm going to bring it around and I'm going to come just to the top of the legs. This is a very light line, coming underneath the eye, going around. This is just a guideline is all this is. Okay, this will be left white, then I'm going to go gray with the rest of the area. So I can just kind of come in with the side of my pencil. I'm just going to lightly gray this down just so I know where the gray is. I'm not worried so much about a hair texture, but when I'm doing this and I'm leaving a little space between my lines, I am following the flow of the direction of the hair. I don't want to color it this way, which is the exact opposite of the direction of the hair. I'm just trying to color it in so I have a little bit of value down and not have it be bright white. That's all I'm doing. And this is really light. We're just going to gradually build it up as we go. And it's really a controlled scribble is what it is. So picture it like water. How would water flow through here? It's going to come down and it's going to come around like that. Water's not going to come down and then all of a sudden shoot off at a right angle. Okay? And this isn't even so much shading or even coloring. We're trying to just create kind of a texture as we're going along. Then for the tail, same thing. Follow the shape that we got going up the tail. If it goes like that there, we're just going to color it the same direction as the hair. And just finish it out all the way around. I don't want to go counterclock or counter to the grain, so to speak. Just want to keep with the flow of what our outer edge of the hair is doing. I don't know how well that translates up there, but let's see if that will focus. So you can kind of see it's a light scribble, but it goes in the direction the hair is kind of growing. Okay, I did that on this side. I'm going to turn my paper over and go on this side. Okay. Do I have any left-handers in here? Is anybody left-handed? Because it'll be the opposite for you on some of this stuff. What I'm trying to do is keep my hand off my paper when I'm drawing, so that's why I'm turning it upside down. I guess I should have asked that earlier. But now I'm going I'm going to have it flow this way. It's easier to turn my paper upside down than to try to color this way. If I'm trying to color this way, that's not natural for my hand to do. But if I'm going this way and I'm curving at my wrist, using my wrist joint, that's natural for my hand to do. This is not natural to go this way, okay? Or to sit here and try to do this with your hands. Why do it the hard way? We're trying to do this the easiest way possible. So follow the outer edge first, and then just bring it in closer to that eye. Keep turning your paper. So let your paper work for you instead of your hand do all the work. And right down here at the bottom, I am going to go kind of horizontal because that's kind of where the hair all comes together. But the nice thing on a cat when you're doing something like fur is when you have space between your lines, it kind of forms hair just by leaving a little space as you're putting it on the paper. I'll pause for a second while we're getting that on there. Show you kind of where that direction's going on it. And then we'll worry about between the eyes and the muzzle and the top of the head here in a second. Now my goal with this was to show you how to draw a cat that you can do, whether I'm showing you how to do it or not. Something that's easy to doodle kind of thing later on. I don't want it to be super complex on this first one. Has everybody got it colored into that point? Does anybody need another second to get that colored to that point? All right, now let's worry about between the eyes. This right here, we're not going to leave as much space here. We're going to just try to color this in a nice light gray and keep it fairly even. And the reason we're keeping it even and we're not putting much space between it is the hair on the top of a nose, even on a cartoon, this is really short hair, okay? After I get that filled in, then I'm going to have my hair go to the right, almost straight up and down, and then go to the left. And then I'm going to just continue to go on around the eye and on around the head. It's important that you kind of get the flow on this right. It needs to come up and over. It's almost like a little fountain on top of his head. One goes one way, and then it goes the other way on the other side. You have to kind of think about what you're doing and control it, or you're going to end up having your lines go counter to the direction that the hair would actually naturally flow. So it should just come just like this and go around. And so far we've created the texture. Now we're going to come in and put some stripes and a few things and give it a little more personality. And right now everything's kind of a light gray. We're going to come in and add some darks and lights and some mediums, and it'll make it more fun to look at. If at any point your pencil starts to get super dull, just go sharpen it. This one's not too bad, but some of the drawings we do might require that you have to sharpen your pencil a time or two. Does everybody have the forehead done? Does anybody need a second on that? When I ask that, raise your hand, because I'm not clairvoyant. I don't know if you need it. Okay, now we're going to start darkening things in just a little bit. So I'm going to come between the eyes here. I'm going to go both ways. I'm coming above the eye, going with the flow of the hair, coming down between, darkening this all up. Going to give him a little dark muzzle. And now I'm going to bring some that goes right up the middle. Now I'm going to bring this out a little wider right here. A little wider right here. This is like little stripes on his forehead is what we're trying to create now. We're giving it just a little more contrast, a little darker. And then I'm going to come from the outer edge, make that one a little darker there, and then narrower when it gets down towards the center. So it's like little stripes on his head. Okay? It gives him a little bit more personality. We're just going to continue to do this here and there throughout the drawing. We'll just start with those. If that connects up, that's fine. If it doesn't, doesn't matter. Okay? At the top of his head, I'm just going to darken this in just a little bit. And I'm just doing more lines is all I'm doing, just to darken it in, but staying with the same directional flow. Just want a little darker top of his head. And I'm going to carry that on down towards the base of the ear. And that should, on yours, when you do that, totally change the appearance of what he looked like just a second ago. So even though these are simple drawings, we're mixing some realism with cartooning to get the effect that we want in the end. I'm going to come along the upper part of his eye, going with the same curve that I had before, and I'm going to follow it around the eye and then just bring it out towards the edge a little bit, almost like a big eyelash coming across there. I'm lifting my pencil up on the end as I go, makes it look more like hair. One side doesn't have to be perfectly the same as the other, as long as they're close. We're just kind of trying to create a contrasting fur texture a little bit. I'm going to come underneath his eye, and I'm going to do the same thing. Come around his eye. And I'm going to curve it the other way. Go up, and then I'm going to go down a little bit, because that, like I say, gravity plays a part. So that hair's going to go down. It comes up, and then goes down just a little bit. Then around its eye itself, I'm just going to darken the line around the eye a little bit. Cats, in general, have a dark eyelid. So I'm just coming around, darkening in the eyelid. Now I'm speaking in general terms. Not every cat has a dark eyelid, but a lot of them do. I'm starting to get a few fingerprints and smudges. I'm going to clean those up now so they don't just get worse. And if you're starting to get a little bit of a mess on this side of your hand or something, wash your hand if you need to, or take a paper towel, wipe it on your shirt, pants, I don't care. Just you want to get rid of it, or put a little piece of paper under your hand and you will smear less. Okay, I'm going to bring this flow, come down here a little bit more. Bring it down just a little bit, and then down a little bit like that. Bring this down. I'm following the edge of kind of my white right there. And I just want another one that just kind of comes over here. Those aren't necessarily whiskers. That's more like stripes on a cat. The important thing is to learn to press down, then lift up at the end, so it looks more like hair at the end. All right. Anybody need more time with that before I go any further? Okay, we're going to come along the edge here, and instead of going this way with our lines, we're going to pull them in. So I'm going to come along here, and I'm going to pull the lines in, and I'm just going to randomly do some of these. I don't want them everywhere. Just kind of following my lines that I drew before. Some I'll make a little bit longer, some a little bit shorter, giving it kind of an edge. And I'm just kind of bringing those stripes in. If some of them connect up with the stripes I've already got, that's fine. He's a little striped cat, so it doesn't matter. Just trying to create a texture here. I'm going to come to the inside, on the inside of my white, and do the same thing, and then just a few down here. I don't want to go too crazy with this and get a million stripes, but just a few to kind of break it up. We don't want it all to be light gray. We don't all want to be dark. So I'll give you a second to kind of do that. Just make sure you're paying really close attention to the flow of your line, that it looks natural and not against the grain, so to speak. Getting to where we're going to be getting to the end here pretty soon. So what I did on this side, of course you want to come and do on the other side. Again, I'm starting out here and lifting up as I move into the body. All these little lines and stripes, they don't have to necessarily match perfectly one side to the other, because that's not how nature works anyway. So everything's not perfectly even. It should look like a fluffy little cat. If you're looking at your cat and you're not thinking, he's so fluffy, you're not doing it right. Okay, it should be fluffy. Okay, some finishing touches right here at the bottom. I'm going to go a little bit darker between the legs, not too dark. And just kind of fade it out as I come up, because that's kind of in the shadow area between the legs, and it's kind of set back a little bit. And then the legs itself, I'm going to color dark. He's going to give him little black paws and a little black leg here. The upper edge of the leg, I'm going to leave rough, like that. I'm not going to try to even finish it out. I want it to look like there's a little bit of hair hanging over it. So I want that end to look rough on the top end, and solid as we come down into the leg. Got his two little front paws there, then I'm going to come back here and get his little back paws, that little triangle back there, make it black. And I am kind of putting a little bit of a hair texture on the top of it, so it looks like the hair's hanging over it a little bit, but keeping it more or less a triangle. After I got those all blackened in, then I'm just going to take some horizontal lines. That does not apply to us. And kind of create a little shadow, because he's like sitting there. I'll make just a little bit of a dark shadow going back and forth. Just kind of grounds the character on the paper. The last thing is we'll do his tail and his ears, and he'll be done. So for this little bugger, I'll follow the flow of that tail, and I'm going to give him some stripes on his tail. Following the flow, just making lines. I'll come down here a little further, do the same thing. And maybe some right here. Want it to look like he's got a little bit of a striped tail, kind of like a raccoon, but not just like a raccoon. Then the fold of his ear right here, the inner side, we're going to make this black. A little dark ear right here. The same thing right here. And then the inside of his ear, we're just going to make as light as we can color it and just make it so it's not white. His little nose, I'm going to make it super light. And when we're finished, that's a pretty far cry from the oval that we started with and a couple of triangles. But it's still what we started with, still the base. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that one right there and let you